So thank you, Sarah. All right. Well, we have a pretty light agenda today. Been gearing up for budget, which is kicking off next month. We'll talk a little bit about that. Mayor isn't with us today, but Scott will be doing his report, and then Sarah has been working on the budget survey to get out to the citizens, so she'll talk a little bit about that. So I'll jump right into the May 2022 financial statements. Still trending the way we have been pretty much all of 2022. The only thing that is down still is building permits. We've been talking about that month by month. When we talk about the budget calendar, you're going to see that we are going to be working on our big budget amendment that we do before we start the budget. So we're going to go through and be reforecasting all of our revenues, since we'll be 75% of the way through the biennium. It gives us a better number to look at where we're going to be potentially surplus wise and what funds will be available for the upcoming biennial budget. So that'll be something, I believe it comes to council the second meeting in July. So once we get that figured out, all these numbers will change again to get us set up better for a starting point for our next budget.
So teach me, when you bring that forward and council, I'm going to assume, approves your forecast, does that come back again in 2023 for us to, okay. Why when we just had the little drama with having to have a second reading of approving budget amendments that had already been approved? Describe the difference to me.
So this budget amendment that I'm bringing forward will include stuff that council hasn't seen yet. So it probably will need a couple readings. I think there's only one thing council's actually approved to add into the budget amendment at this point, but the vast majority of it is going to be stuff that you will be seeing for the first time, because it's our projections from finance for the rest of this biennium.
Yeah, so you're going to be presenting your forecast on revenue and expenses that we base our I mean, I just did that, I just did my budget call last week that I had to forecast all the way for the rest of the year, and it's set in stone. So that's not going to change either. So that I agree, that's the way we've always done it. And then come, January or February, when we know we have a surplus, we just stick that in the general fund as a surplus and we don't do anything with it.
Yep. That's what we've done in the past. And then sometimes council has elected to use some of that surplus for one-time capital needs or setting up reserve funds for certain projects. So that'll be up for us to decide once we start going through the budget process.
But once we do it, let's just, in a perfect world, next council meeting, we approve all this. Will it ever come back to us again to reapprove, like we just had to a month ago or so?
No. So once we approve a budget amendment, we're on to the next budget amendment. So you won't be seeing the same stuff in there.
But I agree, this one will need at least 2 readings for sure. So
yeah, it's going to be a lot. It's going to be reforecasting our hotel motel tax, which is huge. We have to have that pinned down to go into LTAC discussions. So it's pretty vital to get this cleaned up before we start the upcoming budget, so we know what resources are available. Any other questions on financials?
no, yeah, I did see on the May financials, it was 4 million plus in the general fund at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's our property tax revenue.
Yep. And I think, the building permit thing, I would start downplaying that and not keep talking about it every council meeting, because it's obvious, expected that that's going to go down, especially now with interest rates and stuff. So let's not make it a big deal. I mean, it's like, of course, building permits are going down. So let's not make it a big deal anymore, because it is what it is. And we have no control over that, but it's to be expected.
Yep.
With the building permits being down, I know nobody likes to talk about it, but do we have a bigger backlog, and thus the building permits really aren't down as far as maybe it looks on paper.
Well, we still have a backlog. It's not quite as long as it was a year ago at this time. I mean, we just had record building in 2021 and late 2020. So, I mean, there's no, what we're really seeing is the kind of the overall trend. I mean, that's the reason we've been mentioning building permits, is because you just see, nothing else. There's no other decrease in revenue, and we're just trying to be cautious. We don't want to have what happened last time if there is a major recession in the city where we're not taking that into account. So far, we're still just not seeing that. And there can be a number of factors that are in there. I know that some of our businesses are doing as well as ever, and then others are impacted by the supply chain. We have places like the electric bike shop and that are completely dependent on tourism, and the weather hasn't helped. So it's just kind of keeping an eye on it. It's not a concern to me, our building permit numbers, because I mean, like I said, we just had 2 record years from that time period. But yeah, it's we're just noting it because there's literally, regardless, everything else is still up.
Right. Well, and those record years were driven mainly by builders buying lots, building houses and selling them, and they are not doing that anymore. There's still houses being built, but now it's people who own their lots that are building houses, but the builders stopped buying lots and building houses because the interest rates. But that was driving it. Last 2 years was 100%. I mean, how many houses?
Also, prices are ridiculous for a lot.
Yeah, that's changed. That's completely changed now, and prices to build are increasingly high. So
yeah, and we don't
the
have
lumber's
any,
come down.
we
Lumber
don't have any city-owned lots to sell anymore either. So that was a big part of the last few years as well.
Yeah.
Are we still having the auction on Friday?
Yes,
This week?
I think there were 3 properties on it last I saw. So
Nobody's come to reclaim those then.
I need to check in with our attorney. I will check in with her right before to see if there's an updated list, but as of today, it's still the same. So there's a couple on there that still have the old LID attached, so those are going for quite a high price. But yeah, nope, we're still scheduled for Friday at 10. I do want to say too, part of the building permits, that'll play into our forecasting. So that's why it's kind of pivotal to know where that's trending. So I've already talked to the mayor numerous times about being very conservative with our revenue estimates for the budget, just because we don't know what's going on with the economy right now. So yeah, better safe than sorry.
Very much so.
Okay. So here's our draft budget calendar. Basically what I did is I took the last biennial budget calendar and just adjusted the dates accordingly. I know last year council wanted to add a couple of extra study sessions in there, so those are in on off weeks from council dates. So I keep saying we're kicking off in July. The first council discussion on priorities is July 11th. So hopefully we can get this. It's going to be on Monday's agenda as a discussion item. We usually just get a thumbs up from council, and then we will finalize it, get it posted online, get it out to all the departments, and kick off the budget. I'm not going to go through it in detail. There's a lot of things in here that are set by statute, certain deadlines, like we have to get the budget approved by December 31st. We have to have the property tax ordinance done by end of November. So there's a lot of those items in there. But plenty of opportunities for the council to speak on the budget, for the citizens to speak on the budget. It's just going to be basically every council meeting from now until the December that we're going to be talking about budget.
So for my calendar, what extra? Not me. Sorry. For my calendar, which extra dates on top of normal council dates are you?
Thank you, Sarah.
Suggesting? Obviously the 11th.
July 20th is an off council day.
Okay.
And I think the mayor requested these be on a Wednesday. So there's that one, and then the October 19th is one that's off council day.
Okay.
And I think those are the 2. Sarah, do you see any other ones in there? I think that was the 2 that we added.
Yeah, I'm not around on the 19th.
24th, one of them as well. Or is that a
That's,
normal council?
that's a normal council. And that's okay if you're gone. It's just a study session, so there's no action or anything. It's just a discussion. So
I know, but Sarah gets mad at me when I miss meetings.
This is just where we build the list. So as you saw in the mid-biennium where the city council had a list and the city had a list, this is the council study sessions are what we try and build those off of. Which, if you can't make it like Eric, you know, an email is just the same of what your priority and dollar amount is.
yeah.
And we'll be pretty far along by then anyway, so.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. The ones in the beginning are pretty important, but down in October, I mean, we have a pretty good gauge on where we're going. So, and then we have the staff comes and gives presentations the 2 meetings in August and the first meeting of September. We're gonna streamline that a little bit better this year and have some of the boards and committees come as well.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna get Sarah some calendars out to get people scheduled for those.
Yeah, I know that CIC was asking when they can bring theirs, so.
Yep, they're on our list to reach out to. So anyway, when you guys get a chance, when you get your agenda, you can look through these dates, but I think other than normal council meetings, those 2 dates are the only things that really affect council. All the rest of it is internal stuff.
Okay.
All right. And then with that, I think, Sarah, do you want to jump into the survey?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we built a budget survey like we did in 2020. It is similar. There were a couple questions that we added. We have a link that we'll obviously post with a disclaimer on our website, social media. We do have a QR code that will be all a part also of Angie's discussion topic, so that it'll also be on that agenda since we're kind of kicking it off, if you will, at this next meeting. And so essentially what you're looking at is if you were to go on and take it. And then so what we do is that at one of those, I believe, I want to say we present it to council. I don't think it was at that first initial study session, but we incorporate what the citizen input is in with the list from the staff and the list from the council, so that while you're kind of, okay, now we've got all of these lists, this is the citizen input, and we kind of have Angie condense that into something feasible.
Yeah, I think from what I remember is that the Survey Monkey spits out a nice little report for us that we
Correct.
can
Yeah.
disseminate to council, and it's a great little summary on, you know, where people ranked things and what the priorities are.
And the questions came from staff thinking of questions?
Yes.
It was,
It's not as specific of like, do you want your front culvert mowed regularly? Like, it's more of getting a feel for who's taking the survey, their priorities, where they would like the city to spend more money. So, and that became very relevant in the conversation. So say Eric and Rich want to spend or put $100,000 towards fresh waterways. You had, 500 people saying that was their highest priority. So you have your priorities that you've heard from the people that you represent, and then you see that priority level also, and we try to interchange all of those together.
Can you scroll up past the questions about how long you've been here and such? How many times do you rent? Keep going. So question number 6, that's just going to be a no for everybody because it's a great way for them to be negative. So I don't know if you, I I don't know if you have a way of rewording that question, but right now it's just going to be a no because it's fun.
I disagree with that.
I don't think so either. I mean, there's a lot of beautification projects in the city that are moving forward. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
I mean, you're basing that off of the vocal people, but there's a lot of non-vocal people that feel the government is doing okay. So,
Okay, well, I got $100 between me and Eric says that the no's are going to win that substantially. It's going to be 60%, 60% no's. Take that bet.
I'll do 50 for that 60-40 split. You bet I would.
All right, it's a bet.
But if it's 59-39, I win.
I was just, I've already seen this once, but I just had a thought, like, I don't know if there's any way to incorporate, you know, if fire is an important service to you, are you willing to pay more to fund it? You know what I mean? Like,
I like that. That's beautiful.
I'm just not sure where we would put.
Yeah, no, that's a really, really great question.
And if so, how much? Like, how much is it worth per month to get a better?
No offense, this is a way for you to even take the stuff that I wanted on the advisory vote and put it on there. You know,
right,
would you pay extra stormwater fees to fund the fresh waterways or whatever?
Yeah, would you be willing to? Because when we did that, you know, at our meet and greets, that's exactly what we did, and I would say the majority of people were, when you explained it, were for it.
You know, we could probably put it right under each of these items in number 11 that actually have rates tied to them, is what I'm thinking.
You know, so, you know, the fresh waterways, would you, whatever the right words are, would you
be willing to have a rate increase?
Be willing to pay $50 more a year, or whatever the hell you want to say. But the other one too, that's hilariously a hot topic now is, would you increase your taxes to fund sidewalks in the downtown core? Because everybody's bitching now about sidewalks, which is hilarious, but nobody wants to pay for them.
Yeah, and you'd have to be careful with that one because that one's more of a general fund. You couldn't really raise the rates to pay for sidewalks. It would be items that are tied to the rates, like water, sewer, storm, EMS.
Okay, but yeah, that's a great idea to find out where people are comfortable having their taxes raised to get extra service than what we have now.
So maybe Angie, you could review this one more time, and the ones that you felt were relevant to a current utility study or the bond or additional staffing, we could just, because I'll have to rebuild this whole section to do that, which is totally fine. But if you give me the tools for that, I don't see the harm in it. It's just going to give us more information.
Yeah, and I think what I would do too is break out the utilities into each one. So we'd have water, sewer, and then I think we also got to clarify that storm drain includes fresh waterways, because I think that's a huge one.
Yeah.
Okay, I like it. And then saying something like, would you be willing to pay extra per month for better service? And if so, how much, or something like that? Because I think that's the dialogue. It's great that we want to be able to provide extra services, have more people do better with the fresh waterways, but the reality is we have to pay for it. So
well, just the psychological process of you posing a question in a way that makes the citizen want to say yes, followed by the acknowledgement that that yes costs more money.
Yeah.
Are they willing to pay?
Yep.
And that psychologically just flips the switch and it's like, oh yeah, I gotta pay more. And then when it comes to, you know, us putting it out there, they've already accepted the increase.
Yeah. Or we would have some data to support it at least.
Well, and then that gives the council, as you represent the citizens, more validity to make those choices on behalf of.
Because if the answer is, you know, we don't want to pay for EMS, and that's a resounding answer, I mean, there you go.
Right. Yeah, I used to do this. There's a company up in Bellevue, and I used to do surveys all the time for the Ford and Toyota dealers. So found out the hard way how you have to be very careful how you pose the question to get the answer that is more realistic.
Yeah, and then with the other things, it's a matter of the stuff that's funded by general fund. It's just whatever the priorities is, the city needs to allocate more money there. That's not a matter of raising any monthly bills or anything like that.
Right.
It's just reprioritizing what we need to be doing. So I like that. I think that's a good idea. Okay.
So I would just need your help because it's gonna go on the council agenda tomorrow.
Okay. Scott, you want to go through your stuff?
Yeah, and it's pretty short, and it's actually kind of just sort of ironic because I just, you know, we got the two. The only thing I was going to discuss are the two that I haven't discussed at the last council. Was we have obviously the two big events that are coming up, the two biggest ones the city of Ocean Shores does, with the exception of Hog Wild. So we've got Rich on the line. So plug for the 5-star dealer Sand and Sawdust Festival. That's going to be June 24 to 26. So that's just coming up. And we've got that event with the chainsaw carvings and the auctions. And if anyone wants to find out more information, they can go to Ocean Shores Tourism at the Convention Center and download all of that. And then, of course, obviously, we got the big event in Ocean Shores, which are 4th of July weekend. And just for people who are listening at home, you know, the fireworks hours are July 2nd and 3rd, noon to 11 p.m. And July 4th, noon to midnight. And those are only on the beach from Damon Road to Marine View Drive, the approach. They're not allowed in the city, and keep away from the dunes. But these are two big events, and hopefully the weather is going to cooperate with us, and we'll have the start of a kickoff to a strong tour season. So that's really all I've got for now. Yep, go ahead, ma'am.
Just with what Scott said, the city will be putting out a pretty extensive 4th of July, like everything you just said, where it's allowed, where it's not allowed. These are where people will be, where you dump your trash, so on and so forth. And as I did last year, I just implore council members to share that on their social media accounts or in the meetings that you go to, because it seems to help every single year, the more and more and more that information gets out.
Mm-hmm. And reminder to everyone, no fireworks in the city, and we've already gotten complaints from the police, people lighting them off. So please do not do that. And that's really all I got.
I'm good. Does anybody else have any questions or topics?
No, that'll all happen with the budget.
Be ready to work.
At least mine's done, so. The hardest budget I've ever done, 7 years. I hated this one.
Great, thanks. This is gonna be our best one yet, Eric.
No, the city's yeah, no, that's good. We had internal, nothing bad, just reserves had to go up way too much, so.
Yeah.
Right.
If you don't reserve for what you need to do, you're gonna pay for it.
Is there anything that your industry is seeing that would help us in the city?
My sense of Ocean Shores of potentially what's going to happen, because I do think, you know, obviously the economy is going to take a downturn with pricing and everything and inflation, XYZ. For my business here, I think we'll weather it really well just because we're so close to Seattle and Portland and those areas. We're a drive-to destination, not a fly-to destination. So that changes everything. So I think on a day-to-day level, Ocean Shores will be doing pretty good, but if prices go up too high, you know, people are going to have to make that decision. Do I buy gas and buy food or travel? But we're seeing in the travel industry that people are they are going out of their way. They traveling is way up. You can see that in the airports, you see that everywhere, that people just want to get out. They need to do something. They need to get somewhere. So my sense for Ocean Shores is that's still going to be viable because, again, drive to, not fly to. How that equates to businesses, with people are still going to come to be on the beach, how much are they going to go out to eat stuff in the stores? And that's a little bit, but you could probably track that month to month by the businesses and how they're doing right now. I mean, yesterday was crazy busy downtown. I mean, it was just IGA, you couldn't even walk in that place yesterday. So, I think Ocean Shores will weather it just like we weathered the pandemic, mainly because we're drive to and we're the beach. So, but I do think it'll be a downturn, just not sure how big that's going to be. So we'll see, but it's hugely encouraging to watch the downtown corridor, these businesses fixing things on their own. Ron is going to make the mall, the mall look better. You guys painted your octopus, Mike painted his place, Playtime. So it's, people are doing it on their own, which is very cool. So that's a pretty cool thing to think. It'd be nice if we could coordinate it a little better on what that is. I think the design standards was a good start, but we definitely need to work on zoning and all that stuff, because we're still behind the 8 ball with, what the city's looking like and going to.
I don't know. I kind of missed my peach colored building.
I wish you would have painted it hot pink, man.
I already have one of those.
All right, but that's, I think we want to be really cautious, but I don't think we're going to take as big a downturn as some places are that are farther away. That, I mean, if it costs you, $125 one way in your gas, you're going to really think about whether you're going there or not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. We were just at a conference last week with the top statistician from Ford. I the same way. No one's really predicting a downturn. Pent up demand is a couple of years. It's going to be interesting, and all the builders I've spoken to in Oregon and Washington, since I'm trying to do a building project, I'm trying to rack their brains about what's going to happen, and I wish they're not indicating in their particular groups that they're forecasting any kind of a gigantic downturn. It might be a small blip, but
I think where you might see it, which would be good, and that's the whole point of what the Fed's doing, is lumber prices will come down, gas prices will start leveling off and a little bit, which they already kind of are. But those kind of things, with less building, there's going to be less demand, and then those things will be able to catch up. So I think that kind of stuff, you see Target already, they have a surplus, they got to get rid of their stuff. Everybody built up too much from the pandemic and what was going on. And now, so all that's going to play in where prices will start coming down. But that might be, 6 months to a year from now.
right.
So I think Ocean Shores will do well. People still want to be here. So cool. That's all I got.
Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.